Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack here. Monday now, the 9th of September, 2024. Francine, Tropical Storm Francine. That is the main topic today. And we got to talk about this. A threat to Louisiana, elsewhere along the Gulf Coast here for the risk of storm surge, especially heavy rain in areas where you absolutely don't need any more. And of course, the threat of a hurricane and all of the conditions that come with that. We'll talk about that, what to look for. And then I will discuss some of our field mission plans because, yes, we're going to be out there setting up our innovative and specialized equipment, and we're going to cover this to the best of our ability. We'll talk about that as well as we move forward. All right, good to have you with me this early afternoon here on this fine Monday. At least it's starting out good this week, and for portions of the Gulf Coast, that will change in the next couple of days, unfortunately. But it is hurricane season. We knew this would be coming at some point, even though we've had a lull, and here we are. Francine, top winds, 50 miles per hour. It's organizing still. Pressure down to 1,002 millibars. We expect that to go down significantly over the next couple of days. Let's look at our interactive tracking map here off the HurricaneTrack Insider site. Look at the evolution of this as it went across the Yucatan into the Bay of Campeche, finally got organized enough to become a potential tropical cyclone, and then today officially upgraded to Tropical Storm Francine, and it's moving off to the north-northwest at 5. Fairly slow now, and it is sitting over very warm water down here, 30, 31 degrees Celsius water temperatures at the surface, and I'm going to address that more in just a minute with a couple of tweets that I've got for you. But the forecast track indicates that this will bend off to the north and east eventually with a landfall potentially for the center of circulation somewhere in the vicinity of the Vermilion Bay region up here in Louisiana. Luckily, in one regard, we don't have a lot of people that live right down here, but there are people that do live down here. That's the bad side of it. And you got Sippermore Point sitting down here, mostly loaded up with some fishing camps and summer homes and that kind of thing. But those are people's property. They value that. And yes, I know you could argue about, well, you shouldn't build next to the water. Well, people do, and they don't like the hurricanes coming, and they're going to have to deal with it. So let's have a little bit of empathy for them, all right? Because they are going to have to deal with something, even though we've had a couple of years off here since Ida, that was the last one. It's never, ever fun. That is for sure. It's a big headache. It's very stressful. Then the would-be hurricane should track across more populated areas up here. This is just the center. East of the center, and this is concerning now, you've got New Orleans, where a lot more people do live, as you well know. New Orleans is within the cone of uncertainty, or the forecast cone, and it is possible that we see more adjustments over here to the right or to the east of the current track, and that could put New Orleans more at risk for hurricane conditions, and the possibility of some storm surge problems up on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain, something that my team and I are going to have to take into consideration as we travel and make our plans around what happens with Francine. Then, after landfall, of course, the supposed hurricane, we assume it will be, all conditions look like it will be, a hurricane, should come up into interior Mississippi and Louisiana and dump a lot of heavy rain. The threat of severe weather could be there, interacting with some dry air in the old frontal system. This will be a problem for a lot of people. And the biggest threat of storm surge down here, of course, along the immediate Gulf Coast, 5 to 10 feet in some certain areas. I expect that that will eventually be higher. And then we have to see how strong does Francine get. So let's move along and take a look at a few things here that are going to help us with trying to figure that out. Satellite imagery today. Wow, this is really coming together quickly. And if you watched my video yesterday, that was one of the big keys that I said to look for. How fast does this organize on Monday? How well does it sort of concentrate that area of vorticity? We had one piece of energy that was X90L sitting up here, and then the other piece of energy from the tropical wave that was 91L. That is now all combined pretty much with 91L taking over. And now it's going to be a matter of, okay, we see it organizing, we see the bands developing over very warm water. You can clearly see the upper level outflow in the atmosphere here, high above this storm. How strong can it get? And the biggest key to that now that we have met the first milestone, and I'm going to go show you something in a little bit here that really exemplifies this and shows you, the key will be how quickly can it develop an inner core and then protect that inner core from the shear that will be waiting for it up here. A more developed storm or hurricane early means it could last longer once that shear gets there, because it's going to take longer for the shear to start to tilt the vortex, as we call it, and to shear this thing apart. So the quicker it organizes now, the more problematic it will be later on, almost certainly. Lightning was very prevalent earlier. It's dying off just a little bit right now, but it also helps to outline the bands in here. You can clearly see these bands rotating with the lightning in those. And those bands, when they come on shore later, especially tomorrow into Wednesday, that could produce some water spouts. You've got all these oil companies down here and the different platforms and offshore rigs. They're going to have to deal with this, a definite disruption to the oil industry. And then, of course, it's going to make landfall in a big oil processing and producing area of the United States. But fortunately, let's go back to the track map again. Depending on where this does make landfall, it's getting kind of east now from the Rockefeller Wildlife Reserve. But again, most of this area is uninhabited down here. It's the question of, does this come more east so that New Orleans is really placed in that right front quadrant? We're going to have to just wait and see. We don't know for sure. That is why the cone of uncertainty exists, because the center could go outside that cone. We just have to watch. That's what we do. All right, so a few interesting tweets here. These are very important. This is from Kieran, and who is that? Just to kind of show you who I'm citing here. So obviously somebody with a PhD there. I'm going to respect what they say. They know what they're talking about. And this is just good information. I like trying to hunt down stuff that helps me round out my discussions here. So Kieran says, this morning, which is now Francine, of course, has begun to organize in the Bay of Campeche and will likely be named Francine. Of course it is. This was posted at 8:25 this morning, but I saved it for you because I wanted to show you, because it's important. The conditions are ripe for intensification over the next 24 hours before shear and dry air become an issue. Around a Cat 2 at landfall is possible. And these are some of the parameters. You can see where it will be tracking over these very warm waters, the high ocean heat content, and the different parameters for strengthening this little dashboard here with the tracks, the intensity. It is definitely possible that our storm exceeds the forecast that we currently see. And I talked about that yesterday as well with the reference to Hurricane Michael, only that we don't know that much about intensity forecasting relative to track. And my analogy was, and the reason I brought up Michael, not to frighten people, but to say, look, when the jet, the upper level winds that's waiting for this thing up to the north, interacts with a hurricane just right, and it's that fine line that the models can't resolve 2 days out, and that's what happened with Michael. That fine line cannot be determined, and when it interacts with that jet just right, you evacuate the air out of that hurricane in just the right manner that they can intensify very quickly, even up to the point of landfall. So I just don't want people in Louisiana thinking it's just a Cat 1 or a Cat 2 or whatever. Forget the category stuff. Look at the other stuff. Look at the storm surge forecast, the rainfall forecast. Those are all at the National Hurricane Center homepage. In fact, I'll show you real quick. Right there, this dashboard that they've got. Very, very helpful information. There's the peak surge values. These are the things you need to be looking at. Don't worry about those numbers. I mean, they matter, but this is what matters more. All right? So Kieran really pointing this stuff out here. And with further additions to the tweet thread, once the sun came up this morning, the lightning quickly transitions from a scattered pattern to a consolidated one near the center of rotation, showing us that that core is trying to get better organized, and the extremely warm water is being leveraged for extreme convection. Convection is that upward motion, the thunderstorms, and that's helping the system to organize. And then it's going to be moving over very high upper ocean heat content. And then the risk, as Kieran's pointing out here, the more east it goes, the more of that upper ocean heat content will be available. It's just the way the Gulf is. The Gulf always changing. The large areas of heat content morph and move around. They change. It's not sedentary and static. So It's important where the track is, not just for who's affected, but the intensity as we go forward. And none of these things can be forecast precisely 2 days out. And we're now looking at about 2 days until everybody should be well done with preparing for this down along the Mississippi, Mississippi, yes, and Louisiana coastlines. Yes, this could bring some problems to Mississippi as well. It's just a little slip there. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't get closer. And by the way, speaking of Mississippi, let's just make this clear. A hurricane coming in from the southwest, that's kind of unusual. Zeta came in much more from the south. Other hurricanes that have come in, Katrina from the south. This southwesterly trajectory, it'll be interesting to see at what point does the storm surge start to pile into the Mississippi Sound. Again, more questions that my team and I will need to resolve ourselves as we work on setting up equipment across the area. Meanwhile, Michael Lowry, obviously very well-respected scientist and hurricane expert out there, specialist and storm surge expert. Absolutely, Michael and I go way back. Lots of good advice he's given me over the years, so I trust him. And this is again from 10:44 this morning, so almost a couple of hours old. Microwave satellite from about 2 hours ago showing us Francine is quickly coming together in the southwestern Gulf. Deep convection over the center should hasten, which means make the pressure falls quicker, and strengthening in the hours ahead. So this will be really important. So if you're not following Michael, if I could outline it in a color we can see, you should do so. He will be posting these microwave shots often, I am sure. And those are important because we can see through the clouds, look under the hood, as they say, and see the structure of our system. All right? So let's look at the GFS, and let's go back to yesterday. I talked about this in my update yesterday, and why I am over here is beyond me. That's all right. Let me make sure that my audio is still doing well, because sometimes it goofs up. All right, just wanted to make sure. This is important, and I want to get it done in one take. So yesterday I was talking about watching how quickly the vorticity comes together. How much does that energy bundle? And the GFS was really leading the way. I'm very impressed that the GFS caught on this pretty quickly, but you don't know until it happens if it is correct, right? So let's go and look. This is the 12Z run from yesterday. So this is 24 hours ago, and this is valid right about now. So look at the time that this is valid, 12Z this morning. I say now, we're talking model world. So this is what the GFS was forecasting that it would look like in the vorticity field today at 12Z. Did it verify? Very, very close. In fact, you might argue that it's a little bit more organized today than the model suggested. And that was the key. If it got started early, we could have some problems, and we are certainly seeing that. So let's just get rid of this tab so I don't get confused. A lot to do here. So this is the 12Z run from today. This is that 850 millibar area of the atmosphere, so about 5,000 feet up. And I like to look at the structure. It goes from what we see here, kind of loosely organized, which is what we're seeing in reality, to, in just 24 hours, definitely consolidating there, and then it's off to the races, a solid hurricane. And in the 12Z run here of the GFS, making landfall there just on the west side of Vermilion Bay. So you folks over here in Lake Charles, south towards Creole, Cameron, yes, there will be impacts, but I think you can clearly understand not as bad, it goes without saying, as if this was coming into your west. So better news for southwest Louisiana, not so much better news for our friends in Sycamore Point, Vermilion Bay area, and the rest of southeast Louisiana. All right, so we got to watch these. I don't want to call them trends because it's a pretty short time span, but let's just watch and see how this evolves. That's a better way to put it. So we get the landfall there. Let's look at it from the lower part of the atmosphere where you and I live. GFS shows 979 millibars. We can hope that that's the bottom. And again, it put me over here. That's so weird. Hopefully that's the bottom of where we see the pressure go. Intensity forecasting, all I want to caution you on, because it's based on experience, we just don't know for sure. This could rapidly intensify and catch a lot of us off guard that, oh my goodness, now it's a category 2 or 3. We just don't know for sure. So that's why we prepare, and we prepare for one category above what is forecast. It's forecast to make landfall as a 1. You should be preparing for a 2. But even that, I'm almost going back against what I said earlier. Don't worry about those numbers. Prepare for that surge. 5 to 10 feet of surge is a big deal. Preparing for power outages. Look, I'm talking to Cajuns down here, to Louisianans who know hurricanes. But in case you forgot, it's been a few years, this is it. We're having to deal with it again, and it does look like this will intensify perhaps right up to landfall or somewhere around there. And it looks like it's going to be just before or just after dark tomorrow, thank goodness not, Wednesday evening. And then all of that mess moves into the lower Mississippi Valley with thunderstorms and heavy rain, flooding, power outages, trees down. It is going to just be a nightmare through this area. And, we just have to be ready. Got to be mentally ready and physically ready as well to the best of our abilities. All right? So that's what it looks like. And again, just a quick reminder, I know we've had a lot of rain down there. Our friends at Quick Dam can help you. They are a partner. I don't like the word sponsor because we really do partner to help people, to educate them about flooding, the products that they have available to help you mitigate that flood damage. You spend a few $100s on some of these things, and they can help you to save literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage to your property. These are the flood kits that you can buy. They have products for outdoors as well, perimeter protection. You go to quickdam.com, quickdams with an S. I'll put a link to it in today's video description. They are also on Twitter and Instagram, so check them out. Quick Dam is the brand. Quickdams with an S.com is the website. And you never know, you might need this. They are available at Lowe's, Home Depot. You get them on Amazon. And just a great partner of ours to help you get ready for events just like this. We've got Francine coming. We want to do everything we can to get you ready. So what are we going to do? We're going to head down there and set up our equipment, our very specialized equipment, these live camera systems that we've got, one weather station, a full weather station with the wind speed and the pressure readings, and probably going to be covering from somewhere in Mississippi, pretty much thinking the Waveland area. I think that's where it will probably be the most surge prone in this scenario, all the way down to Sycamore Point. So we got our work cut out for us. I'll be posting on Twitter. I know it's called X, but I call it Twitter still. No disrespect. It's just Twitter to me. And of course, we will be live on YouTube starting tomorrow late afternoon as we start setting everything out. And speaking of things that Elon is involved with, we will, for the first time in the United States, be using Starlink as our primary method of doing our live stream. We're going to bundle it with a special little gadget that we've got with our Verizon signal. That's the terrestrial network. By the way, neither Starlink nor Verizon is a sponsor or a partner. We are full customers for those products. Just putting it out there. We pay all the bills, everything, believe me. Thank goodness for the crowdfunding that we've got too. But yeah, this is all going to be powered through primarily Starlink, and then the Verizon network will be the backup for the vehicle cam. We don't have Starlink in our remote cams yet, but that's coming. Anyway, we will be setting up, we will be live, and hey, we should be able to stream the entire time now, even through the worst parts of the hurricane. This will be a heck of a test for that. All right, so more updates to come, of course, as we travel. I'll have another one for you tomorrow morning once I get to my hotel tonight. I get up in the morning, I'll do an update for you then, before I hit the road to start setting stuff up in the Gulf Coast region. Have a great rest of your Monday from all of us at the HurricaneTrack community. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Mark Sudduth. I'll see you tomorrow from the road.